All right, getting right into it. Ladies and gentlemen, I have Marilyn Ghigliotti. Did I pronounce your name right?
Yeah.
Nailed it. On the line with me, known possibly most famously as Veronica in the Clerks series. On top of that, not only do you act, you direct, you produce, you're a photographer, you're a stylist. With everything you've learned over the years, do you have a favorite medium or role to take on, or like a combo of them?
Now by role, do you mean like a character role, or as far as like what I listed on my bio?
Oh, a role in production. Or anything creative.
I don't know. It's like I feel like I know a little bit about a lot of things, but I feel like I still haven't mastered any of it. And I honestly, it's like I had to kind of take a backseat to the styling as far as hair and all that kind of stuff and makeup. Physically, you wouldn't think that something like that would take a toll on your body after so many years, but it does.
Really? What happens?
Well, you're on your feet all day. You've got repetitive movements that you're doing. You're kind of a contortionist to some degree when you're doing either hair, makeup, and all that kind of stuff. And not to mention being vertically challenged. No, it's like, seriously, it's like you've got these chairs that are made for the salons, and when you're on the shorter side, so you're kind of reaching up a little bit higher than you are with most. So I have bursitis and tendonitis in areas of the body, and carrying all that heavy equipment sometimes when doing freelance work has taken its toll on my spine and neck.
I hear ya. Well, I'm sorry to hear that, but I'm glad you've enjoyed it. So before you were in Clerks, you started by doing community theater in New Jersey. Do you have a favorite show that you did, or a particular scene that you acted in?
Yeah, actually. And this is one that I did with Brian. And it had to do with apartheid. It's titled Sabona, which is a South African word for, oh my God, let me look that up because I don't want to butcher it. But I mean, I do believe it means, all right, I see you, or good day, good morning, something to that effect. And it was written by our late friend, Andy Usthuithen. And it was kind of an autobiographical story of his that dealt with apartheid because he was South African and all that. So that is definitely one of the faves as far as community theater. But I've done so many that were so fun to do.
Nice. I didn't know that you and Brian O'Halloran, who played Dante, for those who don't know, I didn't know you guys acted together prior to Clerks. How'd you guys meet?
On the stage, actually.
That would make sense.
Yeah. I had actually seen him in a stage production before we even started working together, and before I knew him, he played Renfield in Dracula.
Nice.
And was very impressed with what he did with the character. And it was, I don't know, maybe I don't know if it was the same year or a year later that we got to work together. We did 2 plays together, Sabona, and then Wait Until Dark. Which was an old movie. It's maybe, I don't know, 70s, 60s, something like that.
So in that spirit, when you guys started shooting Clerks, and it was like one of you guys' first films, did acting on stage together and acting on film, was there an adjustment for the way you guys work together? Because so much of that movie is about the dynamic between you two.
Yeah, no, I mean, we'd already known each other so very well that it was just that commonality that we had with each other that just lended to the relationship that we already had, and that we still have all these many years later.
Awesome. So what is it like? Because Clerks itself reached like 30 years of age. And you were recently in Clerks 3 a couple years ago. You've been doing, Comic-Con tours and meeting fans and signing autographs. What has that experience with the fans been like?
Oh,
Especially since COVID's been back open and now there are like people who like grew up on the movie and now their kids have watched it.
Sometimes you still kind of have to pinch yourself after all these years of like what Clerks became and things like that. And just very grateful at the fact that I was brought back for Clerks 3, and grateful to the fans who actually acknowledged that as well. But it's always nice to see the fans, what it's meant to them, what it means to them today, how it's inspired them. In fact, yesterday I was at an event to see Lady in the Lake, an Apple TV show.
Nice.
And there just happened to be somebody there who asked if I was who I was.
Cool.
and was telling me about how he is doing his directorial debut on something that was inspired by Kevin, and he showed me a little bit of what he had filmed already, and I totally saw the inspiration there of Clerks. So all of that, it's nice to see, nice that you can have an effect on someone's life in a positive way.
I mean, you guys absolutely have. Like, for background, I went to film school. I went to Columbia out here in Chicago. And it's funny because, my sophomore year, and it was the first year I was like living in a dorm, Clerks 2 came out, and that's kind of when I discovered the franchise. Like, my friends dragged me to the sequel. I wound up like going back and renting the DVD of the first one. And it's crazy to think about now, like all the directing majors, which I was, everybody either wanted to be Tarantino or they wanted to be Kevin Smith. And so like those movies were such like a Bible for most of us, to the point where, and I told you about this over DM, I took this like acting for writers class, right? And we were told we had to prepare a monologue for like one of our finals. I was originally going to go with Randall's "Fuck You Man" monologue at the end. And our teacher was like, "Surprise, it's gender swapped." I'm like, "All right, cool. I'm doing Veronica's then." And yeah. I wish there was still video. I don't think I'd show it to you because you'd like immediately end the interview. I am not an actor.
No.
But yeah, no, I hope you all know like the effect you guys still have to this day.
We do, but it's again, one of those moments of constantly pinching yourself, to see that this is still happening, but it's just overwhelming to some degree, heartwarming, but yeah, it's hard to put into words,
Absolutely. So you, like you said, you reprised your role as Veronica in Clerks 3, which was a movie that saw like so many versions and years in production and delays and a literal heart attack before it happened. What was your feeling when you found out that it was actually happening?
Until both Brian and I was like, until we were on set, it was just like we were not even going to think that it was going to happen, and so until I was actually shooting, it's like that's when I was like, okay, we're good now.
Oh, yeah, it like this until like Jeff shows up, you're not gonna believe it. But
it wasn't even so much that, to be honest. I mean. And I do not fault him in any way for the original not being.
Oh, neither do I. I actually respect the amount of integrity it has. I hope you didn't take it the wrong way.
Oh, no, not at all. Not at all. It's just, I like to put that out there because you got negative Nellies and you've got, the other people who, understand and all that kind of stuff. So, you can never understand what anybody is going through until you're in their shoes. So, but yeah, it's just that there was just so many jump starts to it that and this is with any kind of a film, to be honest, anything that's being made, especially now with all the strikes and funding that is given, and then all of a sudden at the 11th hour, even many years ago, I was attached to a film, and at the 11th hour, the funding was taken back. So it's just something that you just don't celebrate until you're actually doing it. And even then, even when you are filming, there are times where it's like it never sees the light of day.
Yeah. Look at what happened with what was it, Batgirl, where the whole thing was finished and just written off for tax purposes. It's got to be disheartening for everybody who worked so hard on it.
Exactly. Yes.
One thing I'm curious about, so you were in a dramatization of Kevin Smith's early years back in 2016 called Shooting Clerks. And one thing I've always wondered about films of that nature, especially set in modern-ish times when most of the people actually around for the events are still around, is the way people look at it either during production or seeing the final product. And you were not only in it, you played a different character. You were not yourself. You were not Veronica. Yeah. You played a character named Allie. What was that like, seeing this fictionalized version of something that you actually went through from a completely new perspective?
Well, I mean, I would have to say this kind of semi-fictional because Christopher Downey, who lives in Scotland and first contacted us to let us know what his aspirations were to do, at a certain point, you're just like, it feels weird that somebody wants to kind of, make a story about our life. I mean, basically it's Kevin's life and we just happen to be a part of it. And maybe not necessarily his life, but the point of where Clerks became what it is. And then, to have somebody portray you, you want to know, well, are they really doing their homework to portray me as I am? And I mean, there were some liberties taken in the whole, as a whole.
Naturally, yeah.
My stuff. And people who know me, it's like, Marilyn doesn't drink. Why does she have a wine bottle in her hand, a wine glass in her hand? And things like that. But yeah, it's yeah.
Yeah, I know.
What was your question?
I forget the name of the actress who played you.
I don't remember.
Did she ask you for advice, or did you give her any feedback?
I don't recall her contacting me. I mean, and my memory sucks. So, but I don't remember her contacting me. I know Christopher Downey did ask me quite a few questions.
Okay.
To kind of get the essence. And I believe I was told that she watched some interviews about me and stuff, but I don't know. She certainly could have reached out. And as an actor myself, it's like, if I'm going to portray someone, I mean, I would, even to this day, it's like whenever I get auditions and stuff, I try to find out as much as I can about what it is that I'm doing, who's doing it, what history do they have as far as filmmaking. And so I would hope that I'd take the initiative to really delve deep into the person, and if I could, I would contact them as well. So
Yeah. So going through your IMDb, it looks like you've been in a lot of horror work. What is your attraction to that genre in particular?
It's not just that. It's, whatever people ask me to do.
Okay.
Well, not even ask me to do, pay me to do, because I don't do anything for free anymore.
Right.
But, it's what becomes available to me. And what also attracts me to the pieces that I'm doing. Because I have turned down some projects if I just didn't feel like I was right for the part. I've even auditioned for some things where I thought, and this was friends, it's like that had me audition for it. And I was like, I appreciate it, but I don't, if I were casting this, I wouldn't cast me.
That's fair.
But it's being able to also work in different genres, to exercise all the different muscles that you require to do for a lot of these different types of genres.
I hear that. All right. So the last question I have, it is probably the most personal. And I'm only asking this because I'm very much going through the same thing. So, prepping for my interview with you, I went through some others because, the last thing I want to be is that guy who asked you all the same questions.
And I appreciate it.
You mentioned in one that, at one point you were going through a divorce. You were looking to creativity as almost a form of therapy. My divorce was actually finalized this year, and I, being a creative myself, I found myself in a similar situation, especially I only have my kids half the week now. Now I have all this other time and I'm still relatively young. What the hell am I going to do with it? Mm-hmm. And it, as somebody who has been through it and come out the other side, do you have any advice to offer for people either going through it now or about to or will?
Wow. I mean, that was so long ago too. I'm sorry, for what you had to go through.
Oh, please don't be.
I know, you know what? Because something like that can be a good thing and a bad thing at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So you just have to find your passion again. And that's basically what I was doing, is I was just looking, what excites me? What drives me? What am I interested in? Where do I focus that energy now that wants to do something? And I got to tell you though, and it's funny because I was talking to a friend yesterday, how acting classes can be therapy.
Yeah, 100%. I can see that.
And so instead of taking the money and going to a therapist who may or may not actually help, you kind of work those demons throughout in acting classes.
I met plenty of therapists who provided nothing. I know how that is. Yeah. Actually, this just coming to the top of my head, Veronica in Clerks 3 it's not stated outright, but it's implied that she's divorced and sharing custody, and she's dealing with this whole other life. Kevin very famously writes the actual lives of the people in his movies partially into his films. Do you know one way or the other if your situation had something to do with what Veronica was going through?
Oh, you mean
just based on
yeah, can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, you had been through that, the divorce and starting your life over situation before, and in Clerks 3, Veronica is very much doing the same thing, just based on what she tells Dante in the car. Do you know if Kevin based that on real life?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
Yeah, not that I'm aware of. Yeah. That's funny. It's that I'm interested to know. I'm interested in that as well. But there have been times where we were having conversations, 2 years ago. I think he did the 25-year anniversary of The Stash. And so he had a lot of us over there, and in his movie theater, which wasn't his movie theater at the time,
Mod Castle or whatever it is.
Yeah, it's Mod Castle now, but at the time, or the Atlantic Highlands, he didn't own the movie theater at that time. So he basically rented the movie theaters and had Q&As in each one. And on the second night, he only had 2 theaters that he had rented out. And so while Q&A sessions were going on there was one in holding. And so we had conversations. And that's when I kind of found out that one of the scenes was earmarked for deletion, even though I had filmed it, because he felt it didn't really lend anything to the story. Now, I'm assuming that's the car scene, but I don't know that for a fact.
Okay.
But and then, even though we had that conversation there, then when we were at San Diego Comic-Con, the year that it was being released in 22, 23, I don't know, 23.
One of those years.
Yeah, one of those years.
One of them.
That, I don't know, the way that he worded it just sounded a little bit different, and as if none of my scenes may have actually been shown. I don't even know. I don't even know. But yeah. So if anybody is watching that Hall H interview on YouTube and you see like this look on my face, I'm just like taking that all in and just like, holy shit. Did I almost not make it to the film?
Well, if I do ever interview Kevin, I'm following up with him about this since you don't even know. It's like, yo, you're not communicating with your actors. I got to pass the message along.
I gotta say though, he may feel like it doesn't move the story along, but I feel like it does. And for a lot of the fans, especially, I just feel like it, because the one question that everybody asks, what do you think Veronica's been doing all this time? What's happened with Veronica? What was happening throughout this life and Clerks 2 and whatever that we don't see her? And I think that just, even if it's a small degree, it answers that for the fans.
I appreciated that scene so much because it had my favorite kind of writing in it, where especially if you like revisit a character that you haven't seen in a few years in like a sequel or like a later season of the series, but it like you can imply what's happening and you can fill in the blanks without this like giant exposition dump in front of it. And whether or not Kevin intended that scene to be in there, I thought that was handled beautifully.
Yeah. Like,
it's one of my favorite parts of the movie. Plus, like, I've also been in a similar situation, avoiding spoilers, where you get in a heated argument with somebody and then you say something and then you realize that is the last person you should have said that particular thing to. And you like immediately lose the argument for that. Like that has happened to me before.
We all have word vomit,
Yeah.
that we wish we could take back. But I think it just really sets up the whole thing after that as well. And let's face it, it's like they're both going through their shit. So it just shows humanity. Yeah, no, I've seen a lot of shit given to Clerks 3 and I don't understand it. Like, it's like, I know it, like, the trailer very much did not, like, state the tone that the movie ultimately was, but I think that was on purpose. And I appreciated how it was basically, like, the movie was basically a drama with some dick jokes, like, thrown in. And especially people who, like, grew up with the series and are getting older and are questioning their mortality, like, it hits hard. Like, that final third of the movie, holy shit. I caught one of the, Fandango theatrical screenings, and my best friend Tom and I, like, caught it the final night. And it was, like, me and him and, like, 20 other people in the theater. By the end, we were all just, like, fucking ugly crying at the screen. Don't leave us! Yeah, I mean, I got to see 2 edits before it hit theaters, and each time I was bawling my eyes out at the end, and still bawled my eyes out even after I was watching after it came out and things like that. And I was able to go to some of the tour shows, but especially, going to Red Bank for the first screenings over there. I felt the love, and feeling that love was just like, oh my God. Yeah. But, I don't understand the hate that some people have for the film.
Yeah.
Because not everything can have your happy ending.
No.
And it's not to say that this had or did not have a happy ending, but it did kind of have a happy ending. It was kind of a mixture of the two a little bit,
Yeah.
So, and as much as there are people out there that say, I wanted to see Veronica and Dante back together again, like that. I'm like, thank you, I appreciate that. I feel like that had so much more of a story to give.
Yeah.
Than what happened, than what people would have wanted for us.
That's its own separate movie. Like that could have filled a whole 90 minutes.
But it'd be interesting to see what it could be now if Kevin decides to write a sequel to that.
Yeah, he's a Marvel fan. There's multiverses all over that thing. We can make it work.
Well, I mean, it's not even so much a multiverse. I don't think we could do that. But you were able to see Rosario as a ghost, and I forgot what they called it. There was a certain word that they called it. A forced ghost? Is that the word that they used?
Probably. If it's a Star Wars reference, that's what it's called.
Oh, okay. So yeah, it'd be interesting anyway.
Oh yeah, no, I would, because like the thing about that was, just having majored in this, I can't just fully enjoy a movie anymore. I always have to look at the subtext. And when you run into the store and you have that argument, it's like, no, this isn't their first time seeing each other in 30 years. They have had several conversations before this. And sometimes it's civil and they remember why they like each other. Sometimes they argue and remember why they broke up. And there is so much history in that car conversation that's just unspoken. And it's like writing like that makes me love Kevin.
Thank you. Yeah.
And I love you too. It has been such an honor. I appreciate your time so much. I'm dropping this on Tuesday when I turn 37. It is only fitting.
Oh, well, happy early birthday.
Thank you. And is there anything you want to plug before you go? Something you're working on now?
Not really working on anything now. So the only thing that's to really look forward to is ChronicaCon, which is going to be in October in Chicago.
I'm in Chicago.
Oh, you are? Have you heard about ChronicaCon?
No.
Dude. So in Jay and Silent Bob Reboot, how, there was...
that part I'm aware of. I just didn't know it was a real thing.
So yeah, he created ChronicaCon. So you go to chronicaconforreal.com and all the information's there. There's a list up as well. There's a ChronicaCon social media pages. So yeah, there's going to be some really excellent guests there.
I'm clear in my... I will see you there.
I think it's October 11th through the 13th.
I'm looking this up right now. ChronicaCon. Can you still not Google the word chronic? What the hell? No, not chronic constipation. What the hell? Thanks, Google. Yep. Friday, October 11th, 2024, 5 p.m. At the Hilton in Rosemont, Illinois.
Yes.
Boom.
Yeah. So that's about the only thing that I've got coming up for the year. We thought we'd be a little bit more busy with some maybe 30-year anniversary conventions, but it didn't really happen that way. I think the whole convention circuit is kind of evolved a little bit differently, and as well with all the strikes that have been happening, that you've got a lot of celebrities who've never done conventions before, like A and B listers, so it kind of probably eats up into the budget that the conventions have to bring people in. So that leaves us smaller people out of the equation.
They had a reunion convention for The Office out here last year. Mm-hmm. And I knew somebody who worked on there, and I know for a fact that like 80% of the budget was just getting Rainn Wilson to show up.
See? Yeah.
Yeah. So that would do it.
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you again. I will see you in October.
Thank you.
And enjoy the rest of your day. Have a great weekend. And, thank you once again. This has been a total honor.
You're welcome. Thank you so much. And great questions. I enjoyed it. And don't forget.
Thank you. All right. Well, I'll follow up with you in a couple months.
All right. Take care.
All right. Talk to you.